All right, I'm going to continue talking about tables. Here is a table from yesterday, and what I have done is added a yellow background color to this, and then just copied and pasted it, so I have two tables on one page. So you can see up here I have my table, TH and TD all styled to have the border and the collapse and the yellow. And then I have that heading class. But let's say that we have multiple tables on a page, like we have, but I don't want them all to look like this. All right, I want them to have a different arrangement here for this. So you have to create classes for the table, and you can do that lots of different ways. But the easiest way is to just add a dot to the end of the table name. And so what you do then is you have like table dot and then whatever you're going to call the first table. So say I'm going to call it T1. And then for the table headers inside the T1 classed table, you have to put table.t1 again, and then the headers for table T1. And then you got to put it again, table.t1 again, and then spacebar and the TDs. And then that does it to just the table that I'm going to give the class T1. So if I come in here to this table and I add a class, then I can put T1 in here, and it's going to abide by that class. Okay, now I'm not going to put the class in this one. I'm actually going to put T2 here eventually, but for now, so we can see the difference, let's go in here, and there we go. So this top one then is using the setup, right? And this bottom one's not. It's completely using the defaults. It's just using the TH. I've got the class applied here, so it's got the class in here. Okay, so that's the beginning there, and we can see that it's pulling all those from there. So if, say I want to do another table, I'm just going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to make it T2, 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 and then I can give it whatever I want. So if I want to have a solid red 3 pixel and a background color of black and a font color of white, and then I can come down to my second table and give that second one the class, T2. So I'm going to save, come in here, refresh, and then there we go. And so we've got this one now styled for the second set of information. So really cool, really easy way to do that. And I could have just created a .t1 class, but then I'd had to put it on so many things that it might have got confusing. So kind of easier here. Now, to be honest, I probably should have called this like Y table and, B table for yellow table and black table or something to make it a little easier to remember other than T1, T2, but it certainly works. So let's say that we wanted to add some additional things like making the rows, every other row a different color or something like that. So again, I would put which table I'm doing it to. Say I'm going to do it to table 2. So I'm going to say table T2, and then say the rows, so TR, and then colon, and then you use the code, it's on page 117, for nth child. And that's nth dash child, and then either even or odd, whichever ones that you want to do. Now, your odd one, number 1 is odd, so I kind of want it to start after that, so I'm going to put even. And that's just the code for that. And then open that up, and then you would decide what background color you want that row to have. And you can do other things other than background color. That's just pretty common. So I'm going to put a faded gray, so DDD, DDD. I don't know if that'll show up very well with white letters, but so this will do it only to the T2 table to every other row. Okay, so this is the rows in the T2 table. I know this is getting like super deep, isn't it? So let's go ahead and refresh. And, oh look, nothing happened. So if we go back over here and take a peek, here's the problem. We already have a background color assigned to this table. And that's going to override these because this is down here. So what I'm going to do is take this out of here and then say, all right, so the table's clear, but on these every other, on the even rows, I'm going to have a background color of that and a font color of this. And then I can do the same thing. I'm literally going to copy paste this. And then I can say on the odd rows, let's say we have a different background color. I don't know what these colors will be, so I'm just going to say AAs here and here and see what happens. and maybe a color of white. It'd be good if I knew what color this was. But we're going to hit the refresh button here and take a look. And there we go. So now I've got like some weird green color alternated with that gray color. Okay, so if you're going to use the nth child, you can't have the entire table styled because it will overtake the entire background color situation. So just bear in mind that you do have to kind of watch out for that. Okay. You can also add captions to a table. Now, a caption shows below a table. So in most cases, you don't need a caption. But what you see those like, say in a textbook, you run across a table in the book, and then underneath the table in the book is a caption. Just like with Fig captions, that's what that is. So you can style a caption in here, and then you just apply it to your table. So let's take a look here at this one. Let's say font weight bold and font size, and let's say like 10 points, so it'd be a little font there. So now I've got my caption in here, and when you add your caption, it is going to appear automatically set to the top, so it would be above your table. But you can style the caption side to a different place, like bottom, if you wanted to. So if I come in here and I've got my table and I add a caption, and it doesn't even matter where I put it. I mean, I could put it, you know, anywhere, but like so. So technically I've got it like below, I guess you would say. But if we take a look at it, it's going to go above it. Okay, because captions automatically go above it. So unless I come in here and I give it a caption side, which I could do, caption side bottom. Of course, I should fix my spelling error, but living dangerously and not. Then now it's at the bottom. Okay, so that's how you utilize caption. And again, you'll see an example of that used on page 117 in your book. Okay, so that's captions. Now, automatically, you'll see that there's no padding around our characters in here. So if you do want padding within your cells, if you want that to have a little bit of space, you could certainly do that. And probably you're going to want to add that here inside your table. So I could say like padding on all sides, for example, to say 5 pixels. That's not a lot of padding, but that might help a little bit. So if I save that, we can apply padding. And you can see that applies in this one. So that spaces those out a little bit. So you can always use padding. That's a pretty common one. You can also do border spacing if you want to space between the cells. That's sometimes something that people want to do to make it look a little bit different. So we'll go ahead and add some border spacing in here too. And again, you're just going to give that a number. We'll do 3 pixels here just to see if you can see the difference. And since the other table is not styled, then you may or may not be able to tell. But you've got all kinds of different options there with border spacing. So we've gone over call span. We haven't gone over row span, but you can also utilize row span if you want to combine rows, like instead of combining columns. Now, I wouldn't want to do that on this example, but if you look in your book on page 118, there's an example of using a row span. And then whenever you do the next row in the table, you don't put in one of those lines. And the example I give you there is homecoming candidates, and you can see the upperclassmen, underclassmen, and those are row spanned so that upperclassmen follows the rows for juniors and seniors, and underclassmen goes through the rows for sophomores and freshmen. So it's exactly like call span. It's just row span, and it's used on the table header or whatever, table data or table header for the row. And that way it will span multiple rows. Okay, so that's pretty much the gist of tables. Everything else you have some exposure to, namely styling the tables, adding borders, adding paddings. Those are all things we've done before. If you want to center a table is a block element. And it works kind of like a div. So you just kind of put that margin of auto on the table. And then that should automatically center your table on the margins. So it works just like you would center a div. And that's basically the gist of it for tables. So I've got an example table on the website for you. I want you to try to create that. That needs to be created below the other table that's already on this tables page like I've done here, but yours won't be animal, fun, random things. Yours will be the one that's on the page. Feel free to come back and take a look at this video or rewind if you need to. But just remember, for the table you've already created, you're going to need to adjust, give that table a class name, and go ahead and apply that class name down in the table so that it functions properly when you create the second one. And then when you create the second one, give it a class name, and when you start putting in that second table, don't forget to put in that second class. All right, well, good luck to you.